This is Matthew and Kelly coming to you from Yachats, Oregon, and this is Two Broads Talking Politics.
Hey everyone, this is Kelly with Two Broads Talking Politics, and I'm on with my co-host Sophie. Hey Sophie.
Hey Kelly.
And I am very excited to be joined today by Ken Mejia-Beal, who is running for Illinois State House in District 42. Hi Ken.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good.
So I said I'm very excited, and that's partly because I've known you as an activist for a long time, albeit remotely, but super excited when I see people like you jumping into the race. So could you tell us just a little bit about your background and why you're running for State House?
Sure. So I have been in the financial world for over a decade. I started off as a teller and worked my way all the way up to management material within the mortgage industry. That's what I've done in my career. In 2008, I was laid off, like most people in my industry were, and it gave me time to kind of focus on causes that meant something to me. So I did volunteer work with food deserts, I did volunteer work with AIDS and HIV organizations, and I did work with different senior organizations, children's organizations, and so forth. And I never stopped, even when I started working again. And over the course of doing the activism, I said, well, it all ties to politics. Maybe I should, try to sit down and get to know some of my local politicians. And I did that. And that led me to helping politicians strategize and becoming a community organizer. I was a community organizer for Chris Kennedy for Illinois, for example. And it just started gradually to the point where I am today. I am running for office as someone that has been a political organizer, a political strategist for various campaigns. I was the program director for the Democratic Party of DuPage County. And it's been a gradual climb, so to speak, the last 10 years.
Yeah, so tell us then about the 42nd district in Illinois. I think when people think Illinois, they think it's a super democratic place. And of course, Democrats have majorities in the state house and state senate. But this has not historically been a Democratic district.
No. So the 42nd district is what is considered a very red district. It is, I believe, the evangelical capital of America. And it's very red. And I've been asked, why would you run in this district? Well, A, because I live here and it's my home. And I love living here because I love the people. I think traditionally, Democrats that have run in this district have been amazing. But I think we've had some messaging issues. I believe the people in my district care more about property tax, rising revenue, and they want to talk about social issues, but we have to message it the right way. And a lot of times we as Democrats, we wear our heart on our sleeves, and that's what I love about us as a party. And we go in and we say, oh my God, these are the social issues I want to talk about. But we very seldom, especially in a district like this, take a moment to say, hey, instead of me talking, what would you like to talk to me about? And that's what I did. I've been on a listening tour this year in my district. And I said, I'm thinking of running for office. What issues mean the most to you? And that's how I work. I work my campaign a little bit different than I think most traditional campaigns work. I went out and said, what can I do for you, as opposed to this is what I'm going to do for you. And it changed the dynamic of the conversation. And we're gonna flip this district.
What are some of the issues that people are talking to you about in the district as you're going around campaigning?
So big issue, I thought it was all going to be property tax. But what I discovered in those conversations, the big issue is rising revenue, the cost of items. I heard that at almost every single door. And that's why I've gone on the record for saying I will be a no vote on increasing any revenue on alcohol, for example. We are in the top 3 for extra revenue in wine, spirits, and beer. I think folks that go out and work 40 plus hours a week should be able to go and have a Budweiser without worrying about it overdrafting their account. I think we pay too much in revenue for certain things as a big issue within my district. And I hear it, and we can fight for it. The one issue that I heard over and over again also was healthcare. People are concerned about healthcare, and I understand that. And what I'm going to do, I'm definitely going to work on how we can make medication more accessible and more affordable here in Illinois. But I've also taken an in-depth look at chronic illness. And I am going to push for public education to ending a lot of these chronic illnesses, or bringing the numbers down for chronic illnesses. That is where we're going to see the biggest healthcare impact if we have less sick people, so to speak.
So I know that you have written about climate change. You have a climate policy that you've put out. You know, there are alarming reports coming out that, no, we don't really have 12 years to fix things. We have 18 months to fix things. And, you know, obviously this is just an enormous issue that we need to tackle. So what would you like to see the state of Illinois doing to fix this climate change problem?
Absolutely. So one of my big pushes is for the Zero Fleet Transit. It is a transit bus that recharges at every stop. It has a chargeable station. At every stop, it recharges. It doesn't run on emissions. It is a brilliant idea, and it's working in places like Louisville, Kentucky. If it can work in Kentucky, it can work here. We can do it. Another big plan that I'm working on, and I've put it in my climate policy, is we have to give tax incentives to small restaurant owners that are doing a low-carbon diet, 50% or more of a low-carbon diet. We have so many small business owners that are trying to cater to and have been catering to low-carbon diet, and low-carbon diet is, you know, no beef, just no livestock. They've been doing it forever. I say, let's give these businesses an incentive, and it gives other people an incentive to open more of these businesses. That will slowly turn the clock on our climate issue. Those are two of my big pushes.
How do people in DuPage County, in your district, think about public transportation in general? You know, you're talking about having a bus that would recharge, but are a lot of people using public transportation? I live, of course, in the city, and so when I think of the suburbs, I often think of very car-heavy places. So what does that conversation kind of look like?
Thank you for asking me that. We don't really have a valid public transportation system in the suburbs. We pretty much have the PACE bus that will get you to the metro station to go to work, and then it will bring you back home. And that's pretty much it. Mm. And I believe that we don't take public transit in the suburbs because it's not available. And it's kind of one of those things, if you build it, they will come. What I've done is I've talked to people in the district when they go out on the weekends to downtown Naperville or wherever, they're taking Uber, they're taking Lyft, which is good. We don't want people drinking and driving, of course. It's good. But that gives me hope that if we can provide a public transit system that's climate friendly and cost effective, people will take it. It's just not available right now. It's not adequate is a better term. We do not have an adequate public transit system here.
You mentioned that your district has a lot of evangelicals and is very red. What sort of, I guess, reception have you been getting to your campaign?
Believe it or not, very, very good reception. You know, when I said I'm going to run, everyone that I talked to within my inner circle said, yeah, go for it. But what I didn't like, so a little bit about my stepmother is a minister. I'm a Christian. So for me, it's not hard to talk to someone who identifies as evangelical. Now, yes, there are moments at the door where people say, not voting for a Democrat, have a great day. And that's awesome. I'm okay with that. But in terms of anyone being incredibly rude or derogatory, I have not experienced that yet. It will probably happen today because I've just said this. But no, people have been wonderful and loving, and it really has sparked a deeper drive in me to run now, because just getting to the doors, these are good folks. These are good, hardworking people.
So I want to push that a little bit further, because you are both African American and gay, and I know that there are a lot of people in the country who maybe are people of color, who are gay, who are women, who are scared to run for office. You know, that when they go knock on doors, they may be treated rudely, you know, that they may be attacked online. So could you sort of talk a little bit about that, and whether, you know, what you have to think about in terms of a support system and prepping yourself to do that kind of thing?
Absolutely. So as you know, I've been a writer for a while also. That is where I got my first taste of how social media, the dark side of social media works. The negative comments, the derogatory comments, the instant messages. At first, I would be a liar to say it did not bother me. It absolutely bothered me. I wrote a really wonderful article for Patriot Not Partisan about immigration, and I received so much nasty responses about being anti-American. And it affected me because I am 100% pro-American, for one. And because in my head, when you put out a good product and you think it's good and you show it to all your friends, they're like, it's wonderful, and then you put it out there and you get negative, it affects you personally. So it will happen. If anyone out there is listening and they're thinking of running, it is going to happen. What I recommend, though, is before you even announce you're running, you have to get about 5 or 6 people that you can go to and be non-political with. You have to have that. You have to have that friend that you can say, so, had a day of door knocking, did not go well, I need to go to the movies. And they'll know, okay, it was a bad day. I also am very lucky and fortunate to have a wonderful spouse. So when I go out into the world, and the world doesn't love me as much as I love the world, I come home and there's someone that loves me as much as I love them. And that makes a world of difference. It really, really does. And it sounds really cliche, but you have to have that love source, or it'll burn you out.
So speaking of love, you had a launch event the other night that looks like it was super well attended. Can you talk a little bit about that event and what that means to a campaign like yours?
So you guys, as you guys know, it was Mueller Day. Mm-hmm. And I had invited my really good friend Renato Mariotti to come out and speak on my behalf. He's my first endorsement. And we planned this about a month ago, before we knew it would be Mueller Day. And as the day progressed, he was texting me all day, like, he was on CNN all day, pretty much. And he goes, WTTW needs me on tonight. I may be a little late. And I said, Renato, if you cannot make it, I understand. And he walked through the door of my launch party. I had an attendance of about 60, and I'm going a little bit under because I am not President Trump and I don't want to overestimate. So we'll say 60. It was a packed room. Renato comes in and he goes, I just canceled. I cannot miss this. Your run means that much to me. And that is just the power of not me as a person, but of this campaign. People believe that we can do this. And Renato's one of the smartest people I know. If he didn't think I could do this, he would not have showed up on such an important day in our nation's history.
That's awesome. And you had at least one previous guest of ours, Marie Newman, was there as well.
Yeah, she's a great friend. Marie Newman is one of the first people that I said, I'm thinking of running. And she'll probably kill me for telling this story, but I apologize. I called her and I said, Marie, I'm thinking of running. And she goes, okay, we'll talk about it. I'm super busy because she was in the middle of, herself running. I go to her home. She's getting ready to go out to all these events. I came over with coffee and she's, doing her makeup and doing her hair and giving me pointers and letting me know you can do it. And it was so beautiful that this Marie Newman is one of the most productive people I know. I don't use the word busy for her because she's doing stuff. And for her to take just a moment to invite me in, it takes a lot for someone to invite you in as they're getting ready. And I'm sure you guys know what I mean. When you're getting ready, you're trying to present yourself to the world, you kind of need that alone time. So for her to invite me in while all of this is happening meant the world to me.
So Illinois State House and State Senate this past legislative session pushed forward a lot of really great progressive legislation, a lot of it right up till the very last second of the legislative session. So, I think some really good progress was made in Illinois this year. But what are some other things that you would like to see happen if you're elected and going into the 2020-2021 session?
Sure. So my climate policies are going to be pushed heavily. Also, what I'm pushing for is a code clause, and that's going to be coming out very soon on my website. It's one of my labor policies. When the governor calls for a state of emergency and asks for citizens to stay at home, you should not have to worry about calling your job. You shouldn't have to worry about, do I have to take a day off? Do I need to call my boss? If the governor says that you need to stay home, you need to stay home. So I'm pushing for policy where if we are in an emergency, like we were this winter when it was negative 50 degrees, there were still employers saying, well, you can make it. No, you can't make it. And I want to change that. You should not have to worry about losing your job if the governor is telling you to stay home. That's one of the policies I'm pushing for. One of the other policies that I want to adapt statewide is the Fair Work Week for non-salaried employees that work for non-emergencies, so outside of hospital, fire, police. If you are working in an industry where your schedule changes weekly, you should get a 2-week notice. I think it helps to manage families. I'm thinking about single moms, and it helps. I was a bartender many lifetimes ago, and there was nothing worse than getting to work on a Sunday and knowing, like, okay, I'm usually off on Monday, and then looking at the schedule, like, but I'm not off this Monday, and I already made plans. I got to move everything around. So I'm pushing for that heavily. I'm also pushing to criminalize puppy mills in Illinois. We have to get rid of them. They are barbaric, and it is not okay what's happening to animals in those puppy mills. So that's another push of mine.
Ken, are there more things you would like to make sure that we talk about?
Well, my website is kmb42.com. You can follow me at kmb42. And that's pretty much it. Running for change.
I do have one last bonus question I want to ask you, and that is you do stand-up comedy as well. And so I'm wondering if you could talk about how doing stand-up prepares someone to run for office. Well,
as you know how you mentioned earlier about like the world not being such a, it can be a negative place. Mm-hmm. The world of comedy is cruel. You get heckled. I mean, it can get rough. Making someone laugh is such an involuntary response. Like you have to just be good at your craft. So what it taught me, it taught me they can smell fear, so don't be nervous. It also taught me people like those involuntary feels. They like laughter and being happy. So just to be myself and present who I really am. I think when you put on, especially in comedy, if you go on and you try to be something you're not, or you try making jokes about something you have no idea about, the audience can sense it right away, immediately. But when you're your authentic self, people can see that, and it is a beautiful thing.
I love that. So everybody go do some stand-up comedy and then run for office.
Not everybody. Not everybody.
Perhaps not. So we will certainly post links to your website and your social media. People should go to your website, click that big red Donate Now button, and help you out.
Please.
Anyone who is in the Chicago area, And we certainly have listeners in the Chicago area. This is not too hard to get to. A nice, close by race that you can help flip. So I hope everyone will go help out and they can enjoy the suburbs.
It's a beautiful place.
Yeah. All right. Well, Ken, thank you so much. Thanks for running. I'm super excited that you're running, and I think you can absolutely do this. You can flip this district. This is the area that overlaps some with Lauren Underwood's district and Sean Castan's district.
Yeah.
So, we saw those flip, and I think this can flip too.
We can do it.
All right.
We can do it.
Excellent. Thanks, Ken.
Thank you.
Thanks.
No, thank you.
Thanks for listening to Two Broads Talking Politics. Our theme song is called Are You Listening? Off of the album Elephant Shaped Trees by the band Immunuri, and we're using it with permission of the band. Our logo and other original artwork is by Matthew Weflin and was created for use by this podcast.